Well, welcome back, and I'm Jordan. Here again to offer you some insight, hopefully, on another topic, which is water. Now, this is not water as in a water profile, which you can easily download from your city's website. And it'll let you know everything that's in your water, solid particulates, magnesium, the mineral content, the chlorine level. It will alert you to all of that information. So, and in speaking about that, if you do have highly chlorinated water, you can just put it in a big open bucket and leave it set overnight. Chlorine is very, very similar to CO2. Once it doesn't want to be there in the first place. So it will dissipate on its own. So if you have a high chlorine-based flavor in your water, you can allow that to dissipate on its own, and the next day it will be clear. Okay, on to other issues here. Now, when we talk about water, water has a hardness level or a surface tension, and I'm sure you're aware of that. We all know that hot water cleans better than cold water, and there's a reason for that. There's also a function of that inside. In particular, a boiling kettle. There are some certain aspects of this that probably just need to be understood. Okay, you know it. Here it comes. Now, this is a diagram. Of course, we know that water is, what's the chemical? It's H2O. And what is that? Well, simply that's 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen. So this is what water is. And we already know that from our understanding that the oxygen is negative charged. All right, that's a given. Water is really a negative charged particle or negative charged thing. Your hydrogens are positive. Now what happens here? Negatives and positives, opposites attract. Okay, so now I've got a couple of them drawn up here, and you can see that there's always going to be an interlink between all of these. And so, this hydrogen's there's going to be an attraction here, there's going to be an attraction, there's going to be an attraction. And that's what holds water together, the water molecules. Now, as those water molecules heat up, that attraction becomes less pronounced, only meaning that as you heat these up, they start to move. Now all of them are moving anyway, okay? They've got different vectors, different velocities, and they're all moving, but they are interconnected. As you heat them up, they'll start to move sporadically or erratically, even more so. And what happens is they start to break apart and they leave pockets. Therefore, it's much more of a liquid at that point. And now we're talking about surface area. Now that's why water will come to a boil. It's because of the separation of these. Now, as we move on with this, understanding that, so there's one way that you can reduce the surface tension of water is by heating it. And therefore, that's why clothes come out cleaner in hot water as opposed to cold water. Also, and here's another little thing you can do. You probably did this at school. If you take a cup and you fill it with water, H2O, you'll notice, and I'm going to be a little bit more exaggerated, but you'll notice if you look at it closely, if you zoom in on it and watch it, you can see it with your naked eye, and you just add water a little at a time, just a trickle of water, that you'll have a bubble, and the surface of the water will be higher than the rim of the cup. And it'll be like that. It'll be a dome around the whole thing until you reach a volume level where the surface tension of the water can no longer hold it. And then what happens? It breaks and the water flows off. You see, that's what surface tension in the water is. Now, I've got a little experiment here to prove this, to show it to you that hopefully this will convince you, because it's simple science, but we need to understand this. So let me zoom in. I've got a plate of water here. I've got H2O, I've got pepper, and I've got my favorite, Dawn dish soap. And Dawn dish soap serves many purposes, just like WD-40. In fact, you can use Dawn dish soap and water in a sprayer and spray a hive of bees. It won't kill them, but they won't be able to fly, so they won't bother you. It just kind of makes them sit dormant. So, and then, of course, once they get all that soap off, then they're back to whatever they were doing before. So you're not hurting the environment, you're not killing the bees. We did that to a huge tree we had out here. We had, must have been 10,000 bees, and we walked all through them. They just couldn't fly. So let me zoom in and I'll show you this. Now this is our demonstration. Now this is just H2O, and we're going to take some pepper just so you can get a visual. And we're going to sprinkle pepper all along the top of that. You'll notice how that pepper just kind of lays out all over the top. Now if we take just a little bit, I'm going to take a little bit of Dawn dish soap and put it on my finger, and we're going to change the surface tension of this water instantly. Now watch what happens. Did you see that? That was just a drop, a pinch of Dawn dish soap, and it broke the surface tension of that water, and it causes that pepper to spread out. Now you can do this on a larger scale. Now that you've seen that, now you ask, George, why is that important to me? Well, two things. One is you understand why we use soap. It's not the soap necessarily that does the cleaning. It's the soap that breaks the surface tension of the water, allowing the water to do the cleaning job. Does that make sense now? Well, now also when we have a still, as an example, and you have a high sugar content, you've got a still and you've got a mash in here with a high sugar content. Now you know the molecular makeup of sugar is much different than water, and there are tighter bonds. So the surface tension of your mash is going to increase. What happens when that takes place? Well, you're exciting all of these molecules here, and they're starting to run off rapidly, and they're trying to escape and break away. But this surface tension is so tight, it starts to form bubbles. And that's where you get all this foam. And, well, you don't want this to bubble over and foam out, or to create a large blockage and then all of a sudden puke. So you try to control the surface, the surface tension. You can do that with a conditioner. And there are many conditioners on the market. Now, people run stills all the time, and they never, ever worry or concern themselves with a conditioner. And that's perfectly okay. Well, I'm here to submit to you, if you don't have a high sugar content in your mash, you really don't have that problem. But if you've got a lot of residual sugars left over, and you put that in your still, and it starts to puke, there's a couple of reasons why it could do that. One, you got too much column packing, the heat is way too high, or maybe the surface tension is a little bit tighter than it needs to be. That's the time when you want to use a little bit of conditioner. And all that does is breaks the surface tension and allows that vapor to rise. Hope you enjoyed that. As always, you can get in touch with me. There's my number, my email address, and we always say, yep, happy distilling.